So, news in the Steelers world. Connor, why is your hair wet? Just got done crying in the shower all morning. I normally wake up, I live in Los Angeles, so news comes in very early for us. I wake up around 3:45. My alarm goes off simultaneously as if like, oh, you think you're going to snooze through that alarm? Okay. I get the notification. Swear to God, thought I was still asleep. I thought I was still asleep. So, now, I've had some time to ponder this trade. Went to the gym, took a shower, ate part of my breakfast. I already knew what I was going to title this video, like when I was driving to the gym at 4 a.m. this morning. This is going to be that the Pittsburgh Steelers wasted George Pickens. And that's so close to the truth. Like, they broke me, you guys. The Steelers have broken me in the last couple of months. Now, I mean, we're being honest, the last 4 years, but like it's really just piled on in the last 4, at the beginning of the new year, basically. So, you mean to tell me that we trade a second-round pick for a wide receiver who's nearing 30 and then pay him $30 million a year? And you're thinking about trading your other wide receiver and you don't draft a wide receiver in the draft? Does Pittsburgh know something that we don't about Roman Wilson and Calvin Austin and Robert Woods? Because that's who we're rolling out next year. Pittsburgh legitimately might have the worst offensive unit in the NFL next year. And it's only going to get worse. We're going to deep dive this, believe me. It's only going to get worse because there is no way. I never wanted Aaron Rodgers on this team, but there is no way on God's green earth that Aaron is looking at this roster right now and it's like, oh yeah, I still want to go there. There is no way. Homie has nothing. Like, you can't trust any pieces on the offensive side right now because any already established talent is gone. And any talent that we're hoping to coach up won't happen because our offensive coaching staff can't coach up the players. We have a good OC in Arthur Smith. He's a good OC. No one on the offensive side, though, or just coaching in general, is coaching up our young players to get better. We drafted Will Howard. Some people are like, he reminds me of Josh Allen. Not with this coaching staff, he doesn't. Not with this coaching staff, he does not. With this coaching staff, homie's ceiling is like Taylor Heineke, and they're going to waste him. Like that, it's crazy. Obviously, Taylor Heineke's smaller than Will Howard, but you understand what I'm saying. Now, going back to George. A third round, listen, I trust Omar Khan. That man has done so many good things for this roster. And I'm so in denial right now that I'm like, is this a protest by Omar Khan? like yeah, I'll trade away one of the only weapons we have on the offense for a third round pick. I have trusted Omar Khan, but this is easily the worst and my least favorite move he has done as GM. We are legitimately rolling out an offense next year. As of right now, we'll have Mason Rudolph, Jalen Warren, Caleb Johnson, DK Metcalf, wide receiver 2, either Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin, or Robert Woods, and Pat Freiermuth. And an offensive line who should take a next step because they had phenomenal rookie seasons, but if Broderick Jones's coaching has been any reflection of how this coaching staff seems to not know what the fuck they're doing, they might take a step back. Pittsburgh legitimately might have the worst offense in the league last year, which is saying a lot because we were already pretty fucking bad. We have blown up everything about this team. They've broken me, you guys. It shows me that there isn't a blueprint for this season. if anything, getting a third-round pick in the draft shows me that they're looking ahead to next year's draft, which at least they're looking for something. I know this is primarily a Steelers channel. I'm going to talk about the Cowboys aspect of this, though, because if I had to grade this trade right off the bat, the Cowboys get an A++++. Like, I would admit them into Harvard with the grade that this trade got. And here's why. Not just because they got George Pickens, but because, okay, you send a third-round pick for a wide receiver that I genuinely believe has the potential and the ability. I mean, in my opinion, he's a top 5 talent wide receiver in the league. I think he has the ability on a good offense and a good scheme to drop 1,500 yards in between 10 and 12 touchdowns. And I think now the Cowboys have 2 receivers that can realistically do that. That's 3,000 yards. Let's say CD and George go for 1,500 each. That's 3,000 yards. Dak has the ability to throw for at least 4,000, but I think realistically, if he stays healthy, a 4,500-yard season and 30 touchdowns. So you're already leaving 1,500 up to the rest, which is like Jake Ferguson and running backs and just, depth. And if he throws 30 touchdowns and 20 of them go to George and CD, that's pretty realistic as well. Cowboys also knocked this out of the park, in my opinion, because if George doesn't work or if George works but wants too much money and leaves, they're just going to get a third-round compensatory pick back anyways. So they didn't trade anything. They traded away a pick, but they're going to get that pick back if George leaves. And if he doesn't leave and they extend him, then congratulations. Like, you drafted a wide receiver in the third round who is essentially a wide receiver 1. So the Cowboys, Jerry Jones does a lot of mind-boggling things. This is not one of them. This is phenomenal. And also, like, the Cowboys are in a situation right now where they're the 3rd best team in their division, and they need something. And they're going to have to, now next season is going to be interesting because, like, the 26-27 season is going to be interesting because you got to pay Micah Parsons, now you got to pay George Pickens. Like, there's a lot of contract situations going on with this team. But for this upcoming season, if you're going all in, this helps, You're getting players back on the defense from injury that are going to be like actual game changers. And you're upgrading your offense, getting your franchise quarterback back, who also is limited with how much time playing he has, or at least at his peak level. So I understand why Dallas did this. And a third-round pick I would have taken around a heartbeat. So great job by Dallas. It's still really hard for me to like put them above Washington or Philadelphia. I'd say on paper they look better than Washington, not Philadelphia. But, looking good on paper has been the Cowboys' MO for the last 30 years, and it's gotten them nowhere. So, but bravo to the Cowboys for this one. Also, being on – it's really rare that a player goes from, like, the biggest brand in the league to arguably a bigger brand. Like, if you were playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, you'd be like, I really can't go up from here on a brand-wise. Going to the Cowboys will do that. Like, George Pickens from a career standpoint, too, like, this dude's going to get ads. He's going to get notoriety. He's going to be on basically every single primetime game in the afternoon. So, like, this is great for George's career. I think George is going to ball out. And, I titled the video Pittsburgh Wasted Him, and let's talk about that, too. When Pittsburgh drafted him, hilarious because Chase Claypool announced this draft pick, and who ended up being his replacement. George only fell because of injury and slight personality issues as well. But the talent, we saw the talent in his rookie season, bro. George Pickens made me think that Kenny Pickett could be a franchise quarterback. But then, like I was talking about earlier, we have a shit coaching staff who can't coach up young players and help them reach their potential. So that didn't, ever come to fruition. But George Pickens was like the one highlight of this offense for the last couple of years. Genuinely. Now he has a couple splash plays every once in a while, an occasional hurdle, but he wasn't consistent enough. Jalen Warren is fun, but Pittsburgh never gave him the ball enough. And Pittsburgh never had another wide receiver too, and they refused to ever utilize Pat Freiermuth for whatever reason. But anytime you threw the ball to George Pickens, it was like a 90% chance either he was going to come down with the ball or something fucking hilarious was going to happen. And we wasted that. And it does all go back to the whole post-Ben planning and Pittsburgh refusing to, plan ahead for when Ben eventually retired. But it also does come back to the fact that Pittsburgh has still refused to adapt to the modern NFL. George Pickens got over 1,000 yards, was it 2 seasons ago? I don't know how. I actually don't know how many. Did he get over 1,000 last year? Because, like, the fact that he was able to get over 1,000 yards, he got 900 yards last year. We went from Kenny Pickett to Russell Wilson / Justin Fields, and George had 200 less yards and 10 less receptions. So in 2023, George had 1,100 yards. Don't know how that happened. Well, it's because he had 2 200-yard games. And then last season, when everyone's like, they upgraded the passing situation, he had 900 yards exactly and 3 touchdowns. 1,100 yards that season is insane. And now he's going to an actual offensive schematic or an offensive competence. Sorry. Offensive competent franchise. Could say a lot about the Cowboys, but they have a really high-powered offense every single year. George's ceiling is going to be insane, dude. This is arguably the best wide receiver duo in the league. Obviously, I'm proving, so we haven't seen them together, but on paper, I don't know who I genuinely might take. Jamar Chase is better than CeeDee Lamb, but on this offense, I think George Pickens is better than T. Higgins, so that's equal to me. This is better than Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. This is better than Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, because George Pickens, in my opinion, is much better than Jordan Addison. Obviously, CD is not better than Justin. But this is a top 2 wide receiver duo in the league. This is a total win for George. His brand's going to increase. He got an even better wide receiver complement. He went from DK Metcalf to CeeDee Lamb. He got a better offensive system, a system that's actually going to utilize him. That's the other thing, too. Pittsburgh just refused to ever actually use him correctly. They would just put him on streak routes. When we finally used him in the middle of the field or underneath routes, you see what he does. But Pittsburgh was just like, all right, we're going to just put you on a go route and hope that you come down with the ball. This franchise has no idea what they're doing. Art, too, needs to sell the team or just give it to his grandson who's 39 and probably has a modern take on the NFL. I'm sick of it. If anything, too, this is just hoping that this solidifies us having a shit season. I don't think anything will piss me off more than us going 10-7, genuinely, or 9-8, or even making the playoffs. Unless we're 14-3 and we make the playoffs, then I'll be happy with a winning season. But there's no reason Pittsburgh should be making the playoffs next year. I know players don't tank. I'm not saying the players should tank, but there's no reason Pittsburgh should be in the playoffs next year. We don't have a quarterback. Oh, yeah, okay. The only way I'm happy with a winning record is if Will Levis. If wow, I can't believe I just did that. If Will Howard is the runaway rookie of the year. That's the only reason I'm happy Pittsburgh has a winning record. And I mean, yeah, we're looking ahead to next year. Now we have 4 third-round picks, 3 fourth-round picks, 2 fifth-round picks. So we're loading up on draft capital with the hopes of trading up for a quarterback. So Pittsburgh will leave next year's draft, assuming that we don't have anything with Will Howard this year, which we probably won't. But that means we can trade up for a pick. This means Pittsburgh's basically we're probably going to go 10-7 next season, and we will have to trade up because we won't be in a position to draft a quarterback. Man, this has just been disastrous 4 months. I mean, I'd say probably 4 years for the Steelers, but it's always funny seeing people who aren't Steelers fans see me complain about this team being like, "Mal, it must be nice for your biggest problem to be always going 500." You don't understand, man. We're just stuck in a void of nothingness because we don't ever have a. Last time I had hope was the preseason Kenny hope. That was the last time I had hope, and that fell off so fast. But ever since then, I haven't had hope. Even when Pittsburgh was 11-0. You can go back and watch the videos I was doing like this. I was like, we're not a good team. I was like, we're not a team that's going to win a Super Bowl. And so, going 10-7, being 500 every single season, it's a pain in the ass because we all know, at least Cowboy fans are delusional enough to it's our year every single year. They fall into that. Pittsburgh never is. It doesn't matter how good Pittsburgh is. We're just like, what are we doing with this? So it's just sad, man. Because now it's like, why did we even trade for DK? Because there's no wide receiver on our roster right now that is his build that he can mentor. Calvin Austin is, I'm pretty sure, exactly half the size of DK Metcalf. Roman Wilson is also, I'm pretty sure, half the size. Well, actually, hey Siri, how tall is Roman Wilson? He's 5'11". Yeah, he's much smaller than DK Metcalf, so it's not the same build of wide receiver. So there's no one to mentor. And unless Pittsburgh really is hoping to get 2 first-round picks next year and draft a wide receiver and a quarterback, then cool. But paying DK all that money, and the biggest crime about the last 4 years and what we're doing right now, to me, is we're absolutely wasting TJ Watt's prime, and we are about to waste Cam Hayward's last season. This really does show me after drafting Derek Harmon that this is Cam Hayward's last season, whether it's with the Steelers or just in general. But no matter what, this is most likely Cam Hayward's last season with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they've wasted his prime and his career, which is horrible. We have wasted Minkah Fitzpatrick's career. And you know what? It makes sense why those guys look tired and are showing their age at this point. It's because all of their backs are killing them from basically carrying this franchise for the last 4 seasons to relevancy and to success. If we didn't have any of those players, Pittsburgh would be drafting in the top 10 every single year. Pittsburgh is like America. You know? It's a third world country wearing a Gucci belt. We're a third world team wearing a Gucci belt. We're built off of brand at this point. We're barely hovering above mediocrity. But there's nothing good about this franchise right now. I trust our GM. The fact that he's been here for this is his second season, and there's been only one move that I don't like, and I'm hoping he proves me wrong. And I'd also love this to be a situation where I don't love this because I really like George Pickens, the player, but seeing the typical Steelers wide receiver doesn't pan out after he leaves Pittsburgh would be kind of comforting. But George feels different than Mike Wallace did, than Santonio Holmes did, even though Santonio Holmes and Mike Wallace had pretty decent careers after leaving Pittsburgh, just not as good as they were with Pittsburgh. But Martavis Bryant, Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster, 2-time Super Bowl winner Juju Smith-Schuster, Marcus Wheaton, all these wide receivers that eventually left, James Washington. So... But at the same time, as comforting as that would be, I also really want, and I said this about Kenny Pickett too when we traded him, I would love to see them just go out and ball out and just be like, see, you guys don't know what the fuck you're doing. But that wouldn't be an eye-opening moment for the Pittsburgh Steelers because their head is so far up their own ass and they think that they are right about everything from an organizational standpoint that they will never admit wrong or fault or wrongdoing. So, I'm tired as a Steelers fan, man. This video could be 30 minutes longer, but why should I give them more time if they're just going to fuck me like this, They're coming to LA this year. They're playing the Chargers in LA this year. I want to go to that game. But now I really don't because I don't know what I'd be looking at. I'd be probably rooting for... I have a Herbo jersey. I'd probably be rooting for the Chargers in that situation because I need Pittsburgh to lose to get a better draft pick. And also the Chargers would be actually fun to watch. Also, I hope Najee runs for 405 on Pittsburgh because then that, again, show Pittsburgh that they were utilizing that running back wrong. I don't have anything to look forward to for this upcoming season, and I don't see what other Steelers fans have. And I know, we do a lot of jokes and bits and, exaggerations in these videos and on the channel, and don't worry, there will be a skit made about this. Don't worry, I had tomorrow's already planned out, but we're going to change that up. But we tend to be dramatic and exaggerate, but I'm being serious. I don't have anything to look forward to. The only thing I have to look forward to right now is maybe Will Howard is a franchise guy, but he's a 5th-round quarterback who slid, and most of the time those don't pan out. If I'm able to criticize Shedeur Sanders being a 5th-round talent and saying that he most likely won't pan out, then I say the same thing about Will Howard. He fell for a reason. I'd like to be proven wrong, but that's the only thing that I'm rooting for next year. So it's just tiring, man. It's been a long Pittsburgh hasn't won a playoff game. They're not going to win a playoff game this year, so it's going to be 10 years since Pittsburgh's won a playoff game. Or a year from now, I'm going to look at this camera, click record, and be like, how the fuck did we go 10-7? Why the fuck did we go 10-7? Now we can't draft a quarterback. Drew Alar, I don't know how to say his name. It's either Alar or Alar. Drew Alar from Penn State. Archie Manning from Texas, if he declares. Like, there are 4 quarterbacks next year. I can't remember their names, but also the one from LSU. There's 4 quarterbacks next year that are being like projected to be top 5 picks. And besides Pittsburgh right now, other teams looking for a quarterback. You got the in-division Browns. You got the Saints. You've got the Colts. The Giants, arguably, if Dart doesn't show anything this year. So you're already 4, not counting the Steelers. And that's 4 teams that need a quarterback. So 5 if we count the Steelers. But there's only 4 quarterback, like, top-ranked prospects right now. And those teams are I feel like I'm confident to say that they're going to be worse than the Steelers, so have a better draft pick than the Steelers, just because Pittsburgh somehow black magics their way into a winning season every single year. Oh, man. I don't drink. But a bottle of Hennessy is just calling me like the Green Goblin mask right now. Bottle of vodka, give me some gin, whiskey, 12-pack, bottle of wine. I'll go red or white. Tequila. It all just rum. It's just calling me. Well, congratulations, Dallas. This is a home run for you guys. Hey, Pittsburgh. Actually, no, Pittsburgh fans. Don't go to any games this season. I know it's not going to happen. Don't go to any games. Show this franchise that we actually care about, that there are, ramifications for the decisions that they make. And the funniest thing and the cherry on top would be if Aaron Rodgers doesn't come, because Pittsburgh has been holding off and basically, deep-throating everything for this man. And if he turns around, gives him the middle finger and says, I'm retiring, I will have so much love for Aaron Rodgers. Now, it won't offset a lot of the things I don't like about him, but it'll inch him up a little bit because he will have taught the Pittsburgh Steelers a valuable lesson. Because Pittsburgh is right now operating off of hope and vibes. And that's going to get you nowhere. Maybe you operate off of a modern NFL offense before you operate off of your brand. You guys know how we end these.